Hi, everyone, and welcome to Club Deck Corner here at Club at 22, the Rangers podcast. We are live on YouTube as always, so get your comments in. As always, we'll try and do our best to maybe to answer a couple of questions during the podcast. Mr. Carney was supposed to be hosting as of about 3 minutes ago, but I don't know. He can't get onto the to StreamYard for some reason at the moment, so hopefully he may join us. He was hosting tonight, so bear with us. It is me and Craig, so we will waffle our way through tonight. There's a bit to talk about anyway. So yes, my one and only guest so far, Craig McKenzie. How are you? A couple of days after Sunday.
Evening, mate. Evening, listeners. In case anybody's wondering how I am, this is like straight vodka. So that kind of sums up where I am after Sunday in the last week. So, no kind of, I would say calm down a wee bit for Sunday, but I don't think we'll ever get over Sunday.
No, no. 2 weekends in the trot, obviously playing Celtic, Craig, and obviously it didn't go the way we wanted to go. Obviously, the League One was a disaster, I thought, in terms of how we blew that, being 2-0 up at half time and drawing that 2 each. And you went into this cup tie. It was a bit of not a distraction, but a cup tie. But you could put the league to the side for a moment and try and build something, put them out a cup, and hopefully kickstart us in terms of the next 9 league games as well, get a bit of momentum, etc. When the team line out come out, the only changes were Giga for Suter and Diamande was in for Chukwani, but the rest of the team was the same as the team that played Celtic the previous week, Craig. What was your thoughts on the starting lineup? I'll be honest, when it came out, I was quite happy enough with it when I seen the lineup. The only one was Olsen I had a wee question mark over, but the other two changes in terms of Diamande and Giga, I thought he got that right.
Well, I had says on Friday night in the pre-match that I would have dropped Suter out for Giga. So when I seen that had happened, I was happy. The formation stayed the same from the week before, which I was happy about as well. I can understand one of the midfielders dropping out. I personally would have taken Raskin out, but it so happened it was Chukwani that kind of came out for Diamonde. I was the same as yourself. I thought Scott Olsen didn't merit a start. And I'd actually says that even Barami could have got a shout out on the right hand side, but they went with Scott Olsen. But I was happy overall with when they started 11 when I seen it. And then obviously we get the wee boost when we seen the Celtic starting 11 and we thought this I'm not going to say it should have been a formality, but we should have been beating that Celtic team with the 11 compared to their 11 that we had out. So I was happy with the starting 11.
Yeah, I mean that Celtic team is. I mean they're playing their goalkeepers have been in and out in terms of Schmeichel or the Sissolo, whatever it's called, that's come in. Their back lines, they were playing with Trusty and the boy for, I don't even know his name, a boy for Brentford they got on loan. Obviously, they were missing Tierney at left back. They pushed Scales out there, and they were missing their main man in Callum McGregor. So it was a big chance. And me and Carney said it before we went along to the game that you looked at that Celtic team and went, if we can't beat that Celtic team in 90 minutes, not 120 minutes, but 90 minutes, we don't deserve to win anything because this is probably one of the poorest Celtic teams I've seen in years. They won't be this poor next season under probably a new manager, but for us to falter again against them, it's unacceptable, Craig. I'm not going to go through the match completely, but what's your thoughts on it? I mean, we've talked off camera there in terms of we didn't think Sunday was mentality in terms of Rangers controlled a lot of the ball, had a lot of possession, never really. I don't remember much chances, I'll be honest, Craig. Their keeper I don't think he really made a save, you remember. But it's a severe lack of quality in this Rangers team. What's your thoughts on that?
Like you say, oh, there he is. He's decided to join us. Better late than never, as
Sorry,
they say.
sorry.
No, as we were saying, I like the Sunday before the league game. The way we capitulated in the second half was purely down to mentality. absolutely. Sunday, like I says, I don't feel it was mentality. It was just lack of quality. We had Danny Rowe in the post-match conference going on about how we had 24, 26 shots at goal or whatever it was. But like he says, how many of them were actually shots that were testing the goalkeeper? I think the goalkeeper maybe made one or two decent stops, but he didn't pull off any world-class saves, or and it was the wee half chances that we had. So for all that we dominated the game, we literally done nothing with that domination. That was really concerning, the quality. The back line was, for me, I don't think we can give them any criticism. I think the back line performed well, but for midfield forward, apart from when Chukwani came on, I thought Chukwani played really well, but for midfield forward, it lacked serious quality.
Yeah, and it's been a Carney can take over after I bring him in here, but it's been a kind of a theme this season for me. I never feel watching Rangers that they're going to score. I just don't feel it with them. And on Sunday, I was sitting there the whole game thinking, I just don't see where we're scoring from. Set pieces, yeah, we've been dangerous at, but we've kind of fallen away from that in the last few weeks, if you want to say. But it's just it's a lack of quality and middle at the front, which you're talking about there, Craig. I thought the back line was good on Sunday. They weren't overly tested, if you're being honest, with that Celtic front line. I thought Big Giga was excellent, which is baffling saying that. But since he's come back for AFCON, I think he's been hard done by in terms of how bad Suter's been. But I thought he was excellent beside Fernandes. But the top line, it's just don't strike fear into me. And I know Chermiti scored quite a few goals against Celtic, etc. But powder puff's my favourite word in this podcast, but that's what I thought we were on Sunday. And Olsen, who we've talked about a couple of times now on the podcast, again, I said, give him this game. Let's see if he can do it. And once again, Olsen, for me, it's a safe ball all the time. One of the corners he took in the second half, where he just rolled it along the ground and just hit the first man at the post, was dreadful. He's probably another discussion, but Carney, I'll bring you in since you're the host for tonight. Yes, we're on it. We're talking about the game and how powder puff Rangers are. As much domination as Rangers had in the ball, they really never looked like killing Celtic at all. Celtic were quite happy for us to have the ball.
Yes, hello everybody. I do apologise. I'm no idea. I've literally been sitting using my laptop for the past, hour or something before I came on, just doing different bits, and then just decided it wasn't going to let me on to do the pod. So apologies about that. Maybe it was knowing that I was having to come on and talk about Rangers, and it was my laptop was thinking about giving me a break. But no, apologies. Professional as always. But yes, Ali and Craig managed in my absence, and yeah, look. Let's be frank about it. I know what you mentioned, Craig, about it not being mentality. I don't think you need to fall into one camp about it being lack of quality or lack of mentality for that particular game. I think it was pretty much all on display. Let's not be around the bush either. That was a half-arsed Celtic team. That really was. They were depleted with injuries, and we never looked like we were going to actually win that game of football. At no point did I feel like the goal was going to come in for us. We huffed and we puffed, but again, just this lack of cutting edge up front. And it's 24 attempts on goal or whatever it may be. But I mean, the keeper didn't make one save that you would consider anything other than routine. And ultimately, that's not good enough. If you're going up against that level of Celtic opposition, you have desire to win silverware this season, you beat that Celtic team. And there's no, unfortunately for me, there's no excuses around that. So I'm in the camp where I think the fact that it looked like as if the players knew that we can't score a goal, I think that then clicked into the mentality of, we've done this so many times before, it's not going to happen for us. It's going to be the same old hard luck story, and it all just kind of accumulated into the very, very poor penalties for Rangers. And when the chances did come, we weren't in that frame of mind that this is the chance that we're going to take. It was more, again, just a lack of composure, really. So I just think there was everything really rolled into that game, and I think it's Yeah, I think it's a really poor show, and I didn't feel as deflated leaving the ground as I did the week before, and the reason for that is I kind of knew it was coming, and from about 70 minutes on, I was going like that to myself, I don't see us scoring here, and I didn't know how we were going to get around it. We've all seen the movie far too many times before. Still bitterly disappointed, yes, and obviously it puts us out the cup, but I just had that feeling. The feeling kind of came over me where I thought, I'm not going to get too excited or too upset about this because I know what happens here. And I hate being right. Honestly, you all know that. Listen to this podcast, I absolutely hate being correct. Well, we'll talk on individual performances that we've seen. And I think, yeah, you were right that you mentioned, mate, Scott Olsen for me. Another game. A player that we probably signed, Ali, coming to Rangers. We expected him to be the difference maker in games like this. When games were tight, we are struggling. You expect him to show a bit. We expected him to be able to show a bit of quality, be a tin opener. Is it a can opener, tin opener? You say, is it a tin opener? Is that a tin opener you usually say? If I froze or is Ali froze? This is going swimmingly well tonight. It really is going brilliant.
Was buffering there as you said that.
Yeah, is it a tin opener you usually say?
Right?
Yeah, I can hear you, mate. I can hear you. It's going very well. Really is going massively well tonight. So, can you hear me?
Yep.
I can, yeah,
right.
But I don't know if you can hear me at all.
I can, but you're delayed. You're massively delayed. Yeah, Craig, I'll come to you with that point with Scott Olsen. This is a guy that's got a serious price tag hanging over his head, and it doesn't look like we are getting anywhere near that value from him right now. And I think we're at the point of the season now, he's played that enough games for us to be able to make a real judgment call. And I don't believe any Rangers fans really over enamoured with him at all.
No, we say when we signed him that he clearly had potential. The whole 40 caps for Denmark. You don't get 40 caps for Denmark if you're not a decent football player. But if you look at the last 12 to 18 months, when his form seems to have kind of dipped, Wolfsburg send him out on loan to Rangers. There's obviously a reason behind that. And now we can clearly see what the reason is. A lot of people had him as the Brian Laudrup Mark II, I think, the kind of phrases that were hanging about at the start. I think they'll have all changed their mind by now. He's literally, I think he's had 2 assists since he's came. He scored a goal against Kilmarnock, which at that point in time, the game was more or less done when he scored that goal. But aside for that, he doesn't fill me with confidence anytime he gets the ball. It's always a safe option. He stops dead and turns back and passes the ball back the way or looks for a sideways pass. A player in that position like Mikey Moore, most of the time will try and take defenders on. He's the exact opposite in more or less the same position on the opposite side. So very underwhelming. And at this moment in time, you're certainly not paying anywhere near €9 million for him.
No, I just can't see how we can possibly. Ali, are you back? Can you hear me?
I've moved positions in my flat here, so hopefully you can hear me better. I think it's where I sit in my spare room, to be honest. I've noticed that, which is weird.
We can see the time now.
Yeah, I know. I think it's weird because my actual Wi-Fi router is closer to that room than it is where I am now. So God knows what it is. But
who knows? Who knows?
Scott Olsen, you've been discussing.
Yes, mate.
Here in the background. Yeah, too safe for me. And I know a lot of people say, but he's not played football for months. And I get that. But at the same time, we're running out of time at looking at this guy. And I know there's 9 games to go and potentially he might be brilliant in the next 10 games, but I don't see it. In the big games, Carney, which were the last 2 games there, he's not turned up at all. Even against Hearts, if you've been honest, I don't think he was overly great against Hearts. I know he set up a goal for Chermiti, but he's just... We were talking about it with Ryan in the concourse at half-time. It's a safe ball all the time. He gets it and just gives it to somebody else. Doesn't want to go by a guy. Just looks the complete opposite of the player I thought we were going to get. I think so far he's been woeful, absolutely woeful. And if we've reportedly to pay €8-9 million in the summer for him, I don't think we can gamble on it. I really don't at the moment. And then you look at it in terms of if Rangers goes the way we potentially think it may go, and we're out the title race, and the last 4 games are dead rubbers to a point, and then he's all of a sudden turns up there. Do you sign him on the back of that? No. I thought Sunday was his big chance, Carney, to get back in with us to show he had something, and I thought he didn't. Yeah, I thought he let us down big style again. Not just him. We're not just picking on him, but as a guy that is coming with a big reputation, 40+ caps for Denmark, I don't see it. I really don't see it. Is it Scottish football? Maybe he doesn't suit it. I don't know. But for me, I would not be paying that whatsoever right now. Even for me, even if he has a good few games in the last 9 games, for me, it's a definite no now.
Did you say thank you to Gordon for the super sticker, by the way?
Sorry, Gordon. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much,
this
Gordon.
Podcast has started very well, Gordon. My Wi-Fi going tits up, having to move rooms. So sorry, Gordon. Honestly. Much appreciated.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Gordon. Very much appreciated, mate. That was before we're even live as well, mate. So I'm just catching up on everything. So thank you so much, mate. Very much appreciated.
That's the excuse for missing it then.
Yeah, well, that's my excuse for missing it, mate. Yeah, I was too busy spending a $5 on Amazon with the $5 that Gordon gave us. No, like, and again, there's too many of them really to go through. I'll pick out a few positives, I think, Craig, to be honest. I thought Chukwueze looked great when he came on. I thought he kind of dominated the midfield, I really did. And I thought Giga coming back in out of the cold kind of cemented all our real concerns about the form of John Souttar, which John Souttar obviously didn't help himself when he came on the park later in the game and literally turned Rangers into a bag of nerves in the space of a couple of minutes. But Giga and Chukwueze, I don't think they can be too disappointed with their day's work. I think when they both came in, they were both called upon. I thought they both performed well.
Like I says to Ali earlier on, I think the whole back line actually performed really well. I thought Romans and Sterling were equally as good. Don't think that, like you say, the 2 centre-halves were tested too much, but they certainly done their jobs when they were called upon. We did say, like you says, we wanted Souttar dropped and Giga to come in, and I think now going forward, that's your back line if it stays fit. Celtic had very few chances in the match, like we says, until John Souttar came on, and within that, I think, 15-minute period, I think Celtic had 2 or 3 chances. That just sums up John Souttar's confidence at this moment in time in a nutshell. He's literally all over the place, whether it's a confidence thing, whether it's something else, but he's not the John Souttar that we've seen. Although John Souttar isn't the perfect centre-half anyway, we know that. For me, he's not a Rangers starting 11 centre-half, but he's not as bad as what he has been playing in recent months. So... No, definitely. As I say, the back line that we played for the start of the weekend's the back line for me going forward for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I would agree, Ali. I know you are desperate to see the back of John Souttar, but the difference when he came, I mean, I honestly looked like somebody went over to John Souttar and went, he was sleeping in a corner. Like, John, you need to get up, pal. Like, we really need you. Like, I know you've not slept in 2 weeks, mate, but you really need to get up and get yourself on the park. And it looked like he's been dragged out of bed. It was unbelievable, the difference, mate. And I think, and I can't believe the words are coming out of my mouth, but Giga and Fernandes for now are definitely the centre-half pairing.
Oh, 100%. I think Giga showed on Sunday why he should be playing from now to the rest of the season. I thought he was excellent, Giga. I thought he was, dare I say, he was composed from the Giga we've seen at the start of the season. But like I say, since he's come back to AFCON, I think he's been very good. And he's been hard done by in terms of how we just put Souttar back in because he was back fit and available. So John Souttar was back in. And I thought it was poor in Giga because I thought Giga was playing really well. And he was just kind of binned because I think Daniel liked John Souttar, and that's his assistant captain, etc. So, you know my thoughts on John Souttar. I'm not saying I want rid of him. I've always said that I think he's a decent squad option for Rangers, third, fourth choice centre half. That's what he is to me. I don't think he's a week in, week out starter. I don't think he's a starter in big games for Rangers because, though you see what he is, he's got mistakes all over him. But since he's come back, he's been absolutely terrible. And you talk about when he come on in extra time he come on when players are tiring, he's coming on fresh. and he looked like a guy that had just played 105 minutes, whatever it was when he came on. In the first 6 minutes, in fact, it was after the 90 he came on. Actually, wasn't it? Big Giga didn't make any of the extra time,
Yeah,
so I was after 90. After 90, Suter came on. But when he came on, I was talking to boys round about me. I counted in the first 6 minutes. 6 minutes when I've been on the park, there was 3 bomb scare moments with him, and it just and do you know what it does? It puts panic all the way through the team when John Suter's like that, because folk go, "Oh Christ." He was misjudging balls, bouncing. He was all over the shop, and he's signed a new contract. He's a guy in the summer, Canny, that if somebody come in for him, if he has a good World Cup with Scotland, whatever, somebody offered us money, or you would move him on. You really would, because he's not good enough to play for Rangers in big games, and he proved it there at the weekend. But for me, I agree. Giga and Fernandes is the 2 centre halves going forward. I think Giga's has been very good. So that'll probably come back and bite me in the arse when he plays against St Mirren. That makes it hard to. But so far, Giga's got the shirt for me.
Yeah, when he trips over his long johns again, mate, yeah, we'll be sitting kind of scratching our heads and wondering what we do next like that. We'll move on to the word mentality, and the mentality that Danny Rule bats away every time he is labelled at him in press conference. I think it was Joshua Barry from the Rangers Review that asked the questions about it, and he was quite quick to shut it down. Ali, I will come back to you. He is getting away. He is kind of... He's not willing to enter the conversation about mentality. Is it the real issue? Is that a lazy narrative from fans? Is it too simplistic for us just to say, it's winning mentality? The way I look at it, at the end of the day, until we change the narrative of these games, of these big games, where we fail to capitalise on a game that ultimately we should have won. We dominated that game in terms of possession, in terms of obviously shots. The stats don't add up in terms of us losing that game, but I'm not making an excuse. But until we change this narrative and until we win these games that we should be winning, then this will always come back around about this mentality of this team. And there's not many there now that you can label the scar tissue at anymore. There's not many of them left that have been through all of the past failings, if you like, of Rangers. But we are looking at a situation that constantly reoccurs, and there's got to be something in that. Fans are not daft. We can see it, and I don't think it's an easy fix.
No, I think it's a mix between mentality and lack of quality. After spending the best part of €40 million since the summer, we're talking about lack of quality. Which is scandalous in terms of that's down to recruitment. But mentality, I think mentality is a big one. The only outlier, Carney, in terms of mentality, where they've showed the mentality was when they went to Parkhead. And they turned that game around at Parkhead when it actually meant something. That's the first time they've done it. But since then, they've not kicked on from that at all. They've been to places like Motherwell, a goal up against 10 men, couldn't see it out. Livingston, bottom of the league with 9 points at that point, were 2-0 up against us again. That should never happen. Celtic at Ibrox, 2-0 up. Probably thought the game was won. Don't go and kill it. Again, can't do it. And I think mentality is a big, big thing for it. It's got to be, because until they show the evidence that it's not, we're always going to give that back to Danny Rule, and he can bat it away all he wants. But until they prove it on the park to us, it's going to be batted around the head all the time. And I hate to say it, but Celtic have it in mentality. They had it at the weekend there in terms of depleted squad, but they ended up winning the game, and that's a cup games. That's all. It's all about winning. It doesn't matter how you win it; you just need to get through, and they did. I thought they showed ball in terms of their penalties they took. I thought we looked scared hitting the penalties. We all knew as fans when Rangers were hitting the penalties, we're no scoring, we're no winning. And And again, you go back to Celtic, they've won a lot of last minute, and they've done that historically, but they can see it over the line 9 times out of 10, Celtic. I know they get beat off the Hibs, but they always do it. And that goes to mentality, because they know how to win things. And we have a group of players that shit the bed, if you want to say, to be polite, when it gets to the nitty gritty. We're a team for years, Carney, that seem to thrive a wee bit better when we're the underdog, or we're chasing a wee bit. And when I say we're chasing, when we're miles behind. We blew it under Clement a couple of years ago, and we should have won the league. And I know this isn't the same group of players. Maybe you've got Butland, Suter, Tav, Raskin, maybe Diamandi there, the kind of core of players that are still there, but it's always going to come up to Danny Rule until this group of players prove us wrong. And they talk about it. We've got 9 cup finals to end of the season. I've heard this push for so long, and John Suter said a couple of weeks ago, judges at the end of the season. But we're not bloody stupid. We can see with our own eyes, can't we, what's happening. We know Rangers aren't going to win the last 9 games of the season. No chance. And I bloody well hope they do. I really hope they do. But there's no evidence to show that they will do it. And until they show something, the mentality will be battered over the head with them. And the best way for them to ram it back to us as fans is to go and win these 9 games. Win them all. And then at that point, you'll turn around and go, right, well, they've shown something there. That is mentality. They have shown it. But the evidence so far this season shows that, and this is why I've said for weeks and weeks that they will not win the league, is because of that, because of games at the weekend and games that I mentioned previously. So I think it's a massive thing, carrying mentality. Lack of quality is there, but we spent 40 million euros this transfer window, this season. But mentality is a big one, and unfortunately, I don't think they have it that way.
Yeah, I agree. And Craig, as fans, Ali's right. We kind of know what we're seeing. We've seen the narrative. We know what happens. We can see it happening kind of in front of your own eyes during games, and it's too easy for teams to look at their peer and hope that they do something instead of them taking responsibility, them showing a bit of composure and trying to dictate play or to control things or whatever. And it's far too easy for teams to pass the burden. But also at the point where we have a leadership group that I don't technically, I don't believe is actually full of leaders either. It's just by default that they've been at the club longer, and all of a sudden we're and I thought it. I didn't want to say that there, but I was going to say Suter, and I don't want to bash him anymore. But he's the vice captain, and I'm like, Suter should never be a vice captain. Jack Butland captain again on Sunday. I don't see Jack Butland as a captain. I don't see John Suter as a captain, and we're at the point where the mentality and the leadership is kind of going hand in hand for me just now, because we don't have someone, I don't believe, on the pitch to go, right, I'm going to take control of this situation here, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to tell you to be here, I'm going to tell you to be there, I'm going to tell you when and how and whatever else, and not talk people through the game, but take control, get people's heads in the game. I think it's too easy for this squad just to switch off and hope somebody else does it.
You're right. Everything that's going wrong at the moment is, like Ali says, I think it's like a kind of melting pot of so many things. It's mentality, quality, and like you says, leadership. There's no leaders in the team, in my opinion. There's nobody that's going to get the players by the scruff of the neck and rally them and try and drive them on if the chips are down. And you just need to look at the weekend there. You've got your captain and your vice captain both sitting on the bench. That tells you all you need to know about the leadership within the squad, and also kind of hints to the trust that Danny Rule has in his so-called leaders. So on the park for the start on Sunday, you had, like you says, Jack Butland. It's not a leader for me. Who else? Nico Raskin, 24-year-old that's kind of picks and chooses when he plays. So I think leadership is a serious part of where we're going wrong at the moment. But the mentality thing, like I said, sometimes it's mentality, sometimes it's quality for me. When you're losing games to drawing games at Livingston and places like this and throwing away 2-0 leads against Celtic last week, it's 100% mentality. But like I says earlier on, I think Sunday, a lot of it was down to the just lack of quality. We had so much dominance, so much of the ball, and we ran out of ideas on how to break down a makeshift Celtic backline. So there's so many things I think are just all coming together for Rangers, and ultimately I've got us where we are at this moment in time.
Yeah. Before we come on to speak about what this means for Rangers for the rest of the season, what it means for Danny Rule for the rest of this season, we will obviously have to address the scenes at full time. Now, there's been no communication from either of the two clubs, no statements released in regards to the scenes that we have all seen now, obviously at the game and the aftermath of the game in terms of the videos and pictures and whatever else you may have seen. Before we get into this, I will say I'm a Rangers fan, so I will be biased to an extent, but I think I'll probably surprise quite a lot of you for kind of how balanced I see this. But before I go any further, there was a statement released by a joint statement from the Rangers Fan Advisory Board and the Rangers Supporters Association. I'll quickly skim over it. The Rangers Fan Advisory Board and the Rangers Supporters Association are deeply concerned with the handling of Sunday's Old Firm game by Police Scotland, which we consider to have been wholly inadequate and which created unnecessary risks for our fans that should have been avoided. We are appalled that the visiting supporters were allowed to storm the turnstiles before the match, not for the first time, then later to invade the pitch in reaction to events on it with little or no attempt to stop it, also not for the first time. Our fans were also placed in danger before and after the match by a chronic lack of segregation on Herron Street. This failure in basic matchday planning contributed in the heightened tensions around the stadium as opposition supporters were allowed to walk and gather freely in the area where Rangers fans had been asked to park. Police Scotland's Greater Glasgow Chief Superintendent Emma Croft is making her own homework when she describes her satisfaction with their matchday operation. More disturbing is the adherent mockery yet again of the Ibrox disaster, with the memory of our 66 by file graffiti the perpetrators emboldened and vandalised on our stadium and its infrastructure. The failure of Police Scotland to act on Sunday and the failure of Scotland civic society to call out this repeated and shameful behaviour from across our game is a disgrace. It would never happen in Liverpool or Manchester. It finishes with saying our support cannot be expected to tolerate repeated failures that compromise safety and dignity. And I say that was signed off by the Rangers Fan Advisory Board and Rangers Supporters Association. I'll get my bit out of the way here. I have had comments and I have people messages me and this and whatever else from both sides of the divide, if you like. And I'm happy to have an adult conversation about it. I genuinely am. For people that want to believe that what Celtic fans did was purely out of celebration and a spur of the moment decision to do, give me a break. Just go and speak to somebody else, because you're not wanting to see what actually happened. The Celtic fans clearly broke through. Celtic fans clearly planned to do this. They clearly planned to do the damage that they did to the stadium as well. That is all pre-planned. I don't ever leave the game thinking, I've not got my Menchie pen or my sticker book with me. I better go back in the house and get it. So they knew what they were going to do. They knew what they knew what they were planning to do, and they knew they were going to cause bother. The sheer lack of control shown in the Broomloan stand in terms of getting Celtic fans into the stadium and not controlling who was entering the stadium. Again, remember, a group that Celtic themselves have banned from their own stadium. There's going to have been people that were banned from football getting into that stadium as well, because of the sheer lack of organisation and control from Police Scotland, all of which I think is massively concerning. They're meant to be in, I know it's a stupid rule, but they're meant to be in at 10 or 10 and a half, 10 or whatever it was they're meant to be in. When the programme started and Ali and I were enjoying a pint before we went to the game, I looked at the Brumo and I said, where are they all? Because they weren't in the stadium, that's for sure. So clearly something had failed outside. But then to the scenes at full time. Police Scotland failed to control that. The Celtic knew what they were doing. It wasn't celebration. They were trying to do damage to the stand. They were trying to do damage to the goal. They basically were there to cause as much trouble as they possibly could. Completely unacceptable and not something that should be done. The Rangers fans reacting, again, should never have happened. They shouldn't have done it. if Police Scotland had controlled that matter properly, it wouldn't have heightened to that. I don't agree with either side's participation in what happened. I think it was all very much handbags at 10 paces as well. It is a little bit blown out of proportion in terms of what happened actually on the pitch. That yes, there was incidents on the pitch that again are disgraceful from both sets of supporters. But this ultimately is a minority from both sets of supporters that are kind of hell bent on ruining it for everybody else, because not only have they now probably eliminated any sort of away allocation being at future Old Firm games for a considerable time, after we had worked to get it back to there being an allocation for away supporters in Old Firm games at either Parkhead or Ibrox. We are now back to square one after pretty shameful and embarrassing scenes for a game that was meant to be a flagship game for this country. We're kind of getting laughed at now, and it's embarrassing for pretty much both sets of supporters. I don't know what the club do. I'm shocked at the club not making a statement already. I really am. I thought they should have come out and publicly addressed it, and they haven't. And it will have obviously left with the interview from the superintendent today from Police Scotland that was on Sky Sports that contradicted herself a couple of times within it. But it was terrible. It should never have been allowed to happen. It should have been policed better. But I do agree with some of what was said in that this constant mockery of a disaster that seems to be accepted in Scotland when 66 not enough and all this they like to post. I can't dumb myself down to that level of mentality because I'm scared I'll never come back to a normal way of thinking. It's vile. It really is. It's horrific, and they've done some serious damage to the stadium and again pretty much ruined it for everyone. I think I said everything there. Ali, do you want to have your say on it, mate?
Me and Craig will probably just go home for the night now. You're going to say what we said what we were going to say.
Yeah.
No, I agree with everything, and it's been kind of, you hear some of the journalists in the press who are absolutely loving it, by the way, loving it that this is happening.
Of course they are.
This is absolute gold dust for them. Kind of point scoring, they did this, or Celtic come on and it's celebrate absolute pish. And I always remember when Hibs come on the park at Hampden, and that's what they said it was. And I thought, well, a lot of rubbish. But yeah, I agree, and it was weird because we both walked up to Ibrox and we both looked at each other and said, why are they not all on the ground? And Craig's a guy to say it, to come on and say, because he was at Parkhead earlier on in the season and he was in there from 9:30, whatever it was, until they got out. And it was weird that they weren't in the stadium. You look at videos, breaking into the Broom Loan, bursting over a fire exit, running in past stewards. Folk can have a go at the stewards all they want, can't they? These guys are paid minimum wage to go and steward a police game. Are they really going to get...
Before you go any further, I've done that job. I did that job when I was in between jobs. It's a horrific job. It really is. It's horrible. It is.
I know. And are they really going to put themselves in danger in terms of what could happen to them?
I wouldn't. Exactly. I didn't.
Exactly.
I was like, no.
Yeah.
Well, quickly, one time I was in Tynecastle, mate, and the guy told me you need to go in and tell them, the supervisor that was doing it told me, who is a full supervisor with the badges and all that, tells me to go into the men's toilet and tell them to stop smoking in there. I was like, absolutely not, mate. Like, there's not a chance. I was on car park duty the following week, but I didn't care. I was like, I'm not going in there to do that with the money you were getting paid, mate, for it. I only done it for like a month or so, but no, I wouldn't put myself in that, so I wouldn't expect them to.
Yeah, and I don't blame these guys. They've got families and that they need to go home to. They don't need the grief of getting whatever happens to them on the park or fighting with fans, etc., for what they need to do. So I don't blame them at all. Police Scotland have made an absolute hooring arse of it, to be polite. Emma Croft, whoever she's called, completely contradicted herself, Canny, when she said the number of away fans is not workable currently, but then went on to say, I am satisfied with the policing operation. There were enough police officers. So she's completely contradicted herself on that one. There wasn't. They weren't geared up for it. And the bizarre thing about it is this isn't a new thing, Celtic in that Broom Loan. they've been in the Broomloan historically for years, and it's been fine. To a point, they have been there before in rec seats, etc., but not to this level. So Police Scotland need to take a major responsibility in this. They made an arse of it, big style. But for these fans to come into our stadium and mock the Ibrox disaster and fans that have died in that, I mean, what goes through your head to go into a football stadium and write on walls and sing about it, etc.? The absolute morons, and that small minority, Carney, is letting down a lot of guys that go and watch Celtic that are good guys, and we'll know guys ourselves we know folk that are Celtic fans and they're good guys. Us unfortunately support the opposite team that we don't like, but there is a lot of good guys that go and support them as well, and they've been majorly let down by these idiots going into our ground, vandalising this and breaking seats, etc. It's shocking. They've ruined it for the guys that wanted that full Broomloan back. And I know Haymarch has been going on about it for quite a while. He would like that back. That's gone. It is gone now. You're not getting that back. And Police Scotland, the naivety of it. I mean, you go to Hampden, Carney, how many times do you see when penalties, whatever it is, or there's big decisions that the police come in right in front of all the sets of fans? I know Hampden's got the big bit of space. It's easy to do, but put a wall of police officers up right against the Broomloan when that last penalty is going to happen to stop it happening. They didn't do it. It was naive. I didn't agree with it. The Celtic fans, it was not celebration. They came on. They were Golden Rangers fans. And then you've got to say, like you said as well, Carney, for our fans, which was mainly the kind of Union Bears group, to come on the park and confront them, again, completely unacceptable. Some guys, grown guys you look at, trying to hit guys of the opposite team. This one of the Celtic physios, whatever it was, get hit. Shocking. Shouldn't be doing. So, as bad as each other at times, but what Celtic, a minority of their fans, did to Ibrox and the Broomloan is shocking. And the 66 things, the worst thing out of it. Breaking seats, that's just fucking stupid. And it happens in both grounds, to be honest. But to mock a disaster of folk that had died is way out of order. And I agree with you. If it happened down at Hills, wherever it was, Liverpool, they'd be talking about it all the time. But it'll get swept under the carpet, this. And I'll be extremely surprised to see what Rangers say on this, because they've been quiet so far. That's 2 days gone by now, and they've not said anything, Rangers. So I'll be intrigued to see what they say on it, the actual damage that's been done in that Broomloan stand. But yeah, I just thought it was a shame, because it should have been a good spectacle, them having the Broomloan back, etc. And it wasn't, and it was completely ruined by a minority of fans on both sides. Let's have it that way. I'm not saying it's completely all on Celtic. Didn't help that they started it on the park, but we shouldn't be coming on and doing it either. So, aye. But you're never going to bang it out. These guys, Carney, they're absolute fucking idiots. Let's be honest with it. That Green Brigade have been barred for Celtic, and how are they allowed in at Ibrox? So yep. Celtic should be coming out as well, but they won't. They won't. They'll pander to them. So yeah, that's my say on it. But what you said before I come on and said a wee spiel was bang on. But I'll be interested to see how this plays out, Carney. I really will, because you know how it'll play out.
Yeah, look, both sets of supporters have their bit to play in this, and that's what I mean by that, Craig. Is I'm more than willing, if you're willing to have an adult conversation about this, and not point score about tit for tat and this and that. But both sets of fans didn't cover themselves from any glory. But it's the premeditated things, the bit that's the concern, because it is the minority that ruins it for everybody. Like there's people going there knowing that they're going to do what they're going to do, and that you've kind of lost sight of why you're going to the football. I mean, maybe not. I mean, maybe it's just a different generational thing. It's a different way of watching the football. I've got no idea, but it's not something that I've ever considered or wanted to do or wanted to happen or thought that this was going to be a great idea. And yes, of course, there's alcohol involved and whatever else, but the way that it's, I am open for the conversation around it all, just as long as it's not the same old narrative of it's the same old, let's make up the narrative to suit the headline that it's all big bad Rangers' fault. Because if that's the way that it's going to be, and that's your opinion that you want to take on it, then you're kind of part of the problem.
Definitely. I actually missed the stuff on the park at the end of the game, because ultimately when I seen Gassama walking up to take a penalty, I had left. So we get outside. I was standing actually outside, and there was guys coming up to the police on the horses saying there was something kicking off. And at that point, the horses started coming round and getting in the gates. And then about 5-10 minutes later, there was a convoy of riot vans coming down Edwinston Drive. You're like, where were they? They should have been in the vicinity of the stadium before this is kicking off, rather than wait till it kicks off and then coming down. So, like Ali says, that's 100% the police have played a big part in everything that's happened on Sunday. But my main concern when I seen like the headlines and things on Sunday night, and it was literally near enough every media outlet was with big bad Rangers throwing flares into this, and it was all this Celtic fans on the park in celebration. It doesn't matter what they're on the fucking park for. They're on the park. That's the bottom line is you shouldn't be on the park. Whether it's celebration, whether it's fighting, it doesn't matter. They were on the park. Had they not been on the park in the first place, the Union Bears wouldn't have been on the park to kind of retaliate to them. But the whole thing on Sunday was an absolute shambles on that Broomloan end, like we says. Alice says kicking doors down, pushing stewards out the road, getting in without tickets, to the vandalism and all the rest of it. And like he says, we have seen this vandalism tit for tat in the past. I mean, I can remember a few years back, the toilets in Celtic Park, I think, had been wrecked. So it's not all angels on our side, but like we says, the whole 66 thing seems to be growing in popularity with the Celtic support for some reason in recent years. I don't know why, but it's empty that can, like you says, people that are going to a football match and not coming home at the end of the day to be mocked years down the line is just, I mean, it's a different level of stupidity, to be honest. And I've seen actually photographs this evening on social media where there's photos on the Celtic end that Celtic fans have obviously taken of people writing stuff. So the Celtic fans are obviously ashamed with the minority of their support as well, and they're actually starting to post photographs to call it out. So that just shows you exactly how bad it is when their own fans are trying to get this punished. So, no, like you say, you have kind of covered everything to do with it. But Sunday, regarding policing, they'll never get that Broomloan stand back again. That's for sure. So this full allocation that everybody had kind of hoped for, that's just all out the window now, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. And in regards to the pictures, again, it's in the age that we live in as well, in terms of the everybody's got a camera on their phone, everybody's got access to social media, it's all done rapid, and that's partly the problem as well regarding the two factions, if you like, from each club. Is it's all a social media thing, it's all clicks, it's all likes, it's all this, it's all that, and again, that's a problem within itself. But yeah, look, it'll be interesting to see what the club, how they address this, how the club publicly address this, but they're going to need to do it because the silence is not the way to deal with it. They do have to come out and address it, and they do have to make it quite clear what the next actions and what actions Rangers will take in regards to it. But yeah, a bitterly disappointing way for a bitterly disappointing result to see the kind of aftermath as well of what happened to the stadium. But yeah, everything we've said I think is pretty spot on, and the allocation will be done. It will be absolutely finished now. Can I
just cut in and add? See when we're talking about obviously the 2 hours before kickoff thing. Yeah, that seemed to work with the league match because they were all in 2 hours before the league match last week, and like the previous games. Mm-hmm. It just seemed to obviously be this allocation for the whole Broomloan that's kind of put that up in the air for some reason. So it'd be interesting to find out what the reason behind that was.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, mate. I think there's many parties at fault for it, but the only bit I want hammered hard is the damage that they've done because it's unacceptable. It really is unacceptable. This just file 66 pathetic, moronic thing that they want to live on is something that needs stamped out, because you're damn right, if it was the other way about, we'd be fucking getting it, that's for sure. We'll finish up with obviously the remainder of this season, in regards to Rangers, in regards to Danny Rule. Ali, there's no getting away from it. People will be wanting Danny Rule sacked. That is going to become a narrative now. There is no doubt about it. There's only one way he can get pass marks from everybody. I mean everybody now for the rest of this season, and that's to win these remaining games of the league. But it's a tough ask, mate. It's a tough ask with the form that we are currently in. I don't want to speak hypothetically, but if he does win all 9, he'll stay. If he doesn't, does he go? It's one of these ones there. We are going to be entering that conversation very soon if results don't improve and he doesn't win, 8 out of the 9 of them, maybe, then the chat will ramp up.
Yeah, as you say, the chat's there already in terms of there's a very small minority of fans that have said, do you get rid of him? Would you get rid of him now? Bring somebody else in the summer. He had a purple patch when he came in, Danny Rule, but in the last 6, 7, 8 games hasn't been great. If you're looking at it, a lot of draws in there. I know he's not been beaten, but poor results, and results that have, for me, that have put us out of the league title. It really is. I know we're a point behind Celtic and 6 behind Hearts, but he's got to win these 9 games, can't he? To bring folk really around him, he's got to win the 9 games, but I can't see him winning 9 games. And you look at, he could potentially win the next games up to the split if you look at them. We're away at St Mirren on Sunday, St Mirren are rotten at the moment. But we've seen Rangers go away, they just struggle in away grounds. But you look at the games up to the split, Rangers should win them. But we said that the previous games they should win them and they didn't. So, and you go at the split, away at Tynecastle, away at Parkhead and away at somewhere else. Rangers are not going to win 9 games. And I hope somebody clips me at the end of the season saying that, and they have won 9 games. But I just can't see it. I really can't see it. And then you look at it, and if it does go the way we think it may go in terms of we'll drop more points, if Rangers finish 3rd, dare I say it, 4th in the league, how do you kind of survive that? 4th in the league, no trophies. A lot of folk will come back at you and say, well, he inherited Russell Martin's team, etc. So it's a difficult one. I don't want to get into the let's just bin him and we'll start again, because we've been doing that for the last few seasons with managers, and rightfully so with some managers that have went. But I think regardless, unless it's an utter shit show, Karen, in the next 9 games, potentially they may pull the trigger. But if Rangers go the way I think they'll go, and I think they'll finish 3rd, but he wins X amount of games, and as I say, he finishes 3rd, and Celtic or Hearts whoever win the league, I think they'll stick with him in the summer, and I think they'll give him a pre-season. I think they'll let him bring players in, and they'll let him have a go next season from the start of the season. That's what I think the board will do. But for me, he's got to get a bit more belief back into the fans as well. Because he's lost us, I think, as a group of fans. We all know that we're probably not going to win this league. So it's a difficult one for Danny Rule, but there's red flags with him. But at the same time, I just don't want to sack managers and restart again, because we're back to the same position. But then folk can fling it back and say, well, he's maybe not to the job. So it's a difficult one, but for me, he's got to win the next 9 games. But I just don't see it. I would just assume you're saying keep the belief valid, but there's no chance we're winning 9 games.
I'm the same, Craig. I don't think Rangers will win the next 9 games. I've got nothing to back it up. I've got nothing to back up to say Rangers are going to win the next 9 games due to the form that we've seen recently from Rangers. But I am also at the point, if it's not if it's not 7 defeats out of the 9, then I don't really understand the point in changing the manager. I've said it before. Do I think Danny Röhl's going to be the guy to bring us the success that we so badly crave and desire? I don't know. Honestly, I've got no idea. I generally have got no clue. But this constant changing of manager, and even if we start poor next season, then it's all going to start again. But I'm just at the point where I just don't believe that that's going to work anymore. And I don't believe that we need to just stick with the guy just because of that. Like, obviously, if things get so drastically bad, then I get it. You need to pull the trigger with it. But this season hasn't went well at all, really, across the board. It's not went well. Danny Röhl improved this to an extent, but then again, we've slowly morphed into kind of previous form, and we're starting to drift slightly further away. These 2 games back to back there have dented the support. There's absolutely no doubt with both games we probably expected to win as a support, and we haven't. So, but the question is going to remain, mate, and it's going to be continued to brought up. The only way that he can prove it to everybody, mate, is by winning the last 9 games, but it's a hell of a tall order.
Absolutely. If you look at the last 9 games, I think we've drawn 4 of the last 9 games, so I don't understand why anyone would have the confidence for the next 9 games that we're going to win 9. So let's face it, I mean, it's not going to happen. In terms of Danny Röhl, I think sometimes he's naive, sometimes he's tactically naive, but I have seen signs that I think with better players coming in the summer, he could be a good manager going forward, I think. I'm not going to put all my chips on the table with it, but I think I've seen things that have kind of convinced me he could do a decent job. But like I says, I'm the same bracket as you. You don't want to get doing this revolving door of a manager's kind of thing, because it doesn't take you forward. It takes you back a step rather than going forward. So absolutely, I don't want to go at the summer and have to change the manager again. But unless, like you says, things totally go tits up, I would absolutely give him the summer and see where we go for there. But I think he has to kind of read the room at times. With some of his comments that he comes out with, I think he makes a rod for his own back in terms of the presser pre-match for the weekend there, that the 7,000 would have been silenced after 50 minutes. Things like that. You just don't say things like that. And like I say, some of his in-game management is questionable at times, but I think that's all down to being a young manager as well, that he's kind of still learning on the job, so to speak. But Rangers, again, isn't the kind of club that you learn on the job at. So I'm kind of on the fence with the Danny Röhl thing at the moment, but we're certainly not going to win 9 games. So, and he did say that he knows that he has to deliver silverware. The league's literally the last silverware he's got to deliver now. So there will be questions asked if he doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll do us for tonight. But yeah, as I say, the big question is now what Rangers and how Rangers react to it, and basically what happens next. But there's no doubt that we can't continue to keep going through this cycle of falling short, which builds frustration and it gets us to the point where we're thinking about sacking the manager. And that, again, all that has to change, and it's going to need to change with the 9 wins out of 9. And good luck to him for that, and I hope he very much proves us all wrong. Thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. Thank you, chat. Thank you for your interaction. Very much appreciated. I know a difficult time really to sit and talk about Rangers, but you know us, we'll always show up. Well, I will eventually show up, but the Ali and Craig are much more consistent than I am. For tonight, Alistair, thank you very much.
No problem. Finally put the old firms to bed now, hopefully, and look forward.
One more to go, mate. One more to go.
Yeah. I know, but we've obviously I know the old firm in terms of when it's back here, but in terms of the 2 there, we can probably close that book at the moment. I know there'll probably be a statement from Rangers coming out, but the league is there it's still there technically, Carney. They've got something to aim for, Rangers, so it'll be interesting, and we'll talk about it on Friday, how they act on Sunday against St Mirren. Celtic and Hearts both playing the Saturday as well, so we'll know as well by the time we kick off against St Mirren what's happened in those games as well. So, yes, I would love to believe in it, but you know my thoughts. So we'll talk about it on Friday.
Absolutely. Craig, thanks, mate.
Very welcome. It's been a pleasure, guys. Like Ali says, it's not over until a fat lady sings, I suppose. But it's not going to happen. Let's face it. Let's hope there's a wee bit more positivity on Sunday to talk about. Cheer us up somewhat. But it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I hope so too. Just a bit of housekeeping as well before I go. You can obviously buy the merch, as you can see it running across the bottom of the screen. That is still live. There is one new membership tier been added to YouTube as well. Again, loads of new perks, and also there's been perks added to the ones that are already there. So go and check them out if you want to support the podcast even more than you already do. That'd be much appreciated. And we will be back on Friday as we try and pick ourselves back up, dust ourselves off, and go again to face St Mirren away on Sunday, which pleased the missus greatly when it was Ron Miller's Day. She's absolutely delighted about that, so she is. So I'll be up early with the kids and taking them for breakfast or whatever else. But yes, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, all the usual stuff, and we will speak to you on Friday. We are Club at 22, the Rangers podcast. Cheers, everybody.